She's a Canberra-based sexual health counsellor. She's a Lego minifigure enthusiast, and she's a poet. After years of writing only business reports and essays, she's now focusing her creativity by writing down the thoughts that crossed her mind when out bushwalking with her chihuahua. Her poems have appeared in Eucalypt, a Tanker Journal, Atlas Poetica, A Journey of World Tanker, Skylarke, Pressure Gauge, and Poems to Wear which was edited by Amelia Fielden. So I'd like you to all welcome Frances Collins.
Thank you, Hazel, and thank you for inviting me to step in when John wasn't able to make it this evening. And in light of that, many of you don't know my work, so I've decided to keep it clean, mostly. So I'm gonna read from some of my little self-published books that I've written, and I'm going to start with a tanker. I write a lot of tanker, but I'm not going to read a lot of tanker because you've got to read a lot of tanker to fill 20 minutes. So if you like tanker, please have a look at them at the back. Sometimes a female touch calms waters that have been churned. One oar produces circles. Sometimes a female touch calms waters that have been churned. One oar produces circles. I write a lot of work about my mum. My mum passed away 12 years ago on the 4th of July. And she kind of poo-pooed the fact that I enjoyed writing poetry because she didn't get it. So I kind of rejoice in the fact that I can now write about poems about her and to her, because I know it would be driving her crazy. This one's called Button Tin. I sit with my legs crossed, tip the contents out, scattering reds and blues amongst the bones. Some on their skins, others on crumpled cards, most randomly nestled together. I watch over ladybugs that can't fly, anchors that won't sink, kittens with 6 straight whiskers, flowers with no scent, sharks with no bite. Snipping orange scissors, turning fabric sheets into magic, pinned tissue as her guide, vogue and simplicity inspired, the next move, the next stitch. I care less about decorum, much more about comfort with one leg straight, enamel ice cream cones peeking out from behind the discs with holes, after years of play sorted, like colour with like, neat and tidy, sorted out, neat. My legs spread, I can't cross them anymore, green and earthy highlights, conversations of divorce, hers, then mine, twisting that single strand of diamante, ending near, but the sparkle never faded. What happened to her button tin? I don't know. I gave it to the lady down the road. She sews a bit. So the women in here have all gone, oh. He's dead now, so I can forgive him. Right. This is a tanker prose, so a little bit of prose, tanker in the middle, and then a bit more prose. And it was written as part of, I wrote it when I got involved in the 5,000 Poppies project, which was that magnificent crochet and knitted display at the War Memorial. I was involved in that about 18 months before it actually turned up at the War Memorial. So I contributed 100 poppies that I crocheted. I put together 100 and I planted 1,600 of those things, and my back has never ached so much for so long. It was a lot of good work. But this was a tanker prose that was inspired by that. In the mud. Under candlelight, I lay wrapped in soft white towels. I've been pummeled, walked on, massaged, forcing relaxation into my bones, muscles, and skin. The air is scented with jasmine, yang yang, and coconut. Piped sounds of ocean softly lap at the shore, inviting me to stay a while longer, as cucumber blinds me and the mud dries, drawing impurities from my skin, leaving me feeling fresh and alive. I walk back to my bed and breakfast along the main street of Pozières, watching a helicopter filled with tourists buzz across the fields. Bullets fly through acrid air, cleaving, eyes fixed on the stars, his life ends in the mud. Farmers plough memory of the fallen into the ground with the broken wheat. Now, I'm single, proudly single, have been for 12 years. Sorry to the newlyweds, it is wonderful. And with that, it brings dating and the modern thing of online dating. So these are a couple of short tankers. I'm only going to read them once, so don't blink. And these are about my experience of being single online in the noughties. Asked straight up, do you want to fuck? I consider long and hard. Yes, but not with you. One day, a straight, buff, single man wearing no shirt will follow me on Insta. I believe in unicorns. It's a tough one. And going back to my mum. Dark grey ocean stretches, view from a distance, silence deafening as waves crash to stone, wind churning, urging forward to carry on. Kurgans at my back, centuries past, neat mounds fertilised with her ashes, now joined with Viking kings, feeding the land creativity in her absence, ever present. I scattered my mum's ashes on the top of Kingley Vale, which is the south end of the South Downs in the UK, overlooking the Southern. And somehow they got Viking burial mounds up there, and they've actually got the boats and everything. It's phenomenal. I'm also, apart from being a Lego minifigure and sexual health therapist, I am also a wildlife advocate, and I do a lot of work with wildlife volunteers and with animals, mostly with reptiles and snakes. So I'm a snake relocator for wildcare over the border. And I do write quite a lot of poetry about that. And this one's sort of a bit of a, it's called In Memoriam. Cable tied bunches of faded plastic floral, white painted wood in memory of JB. Skeletal frame, bent, broken, picked clean, magpies stand guard over native bones. Buds spring from naked branches, rocks radiate, heat lengthening of day, snakes unfurl. Buds spring from naked branches, rocks radiate, heat of lengthening day, snakes unfurl. I'm going to read one more about my mum, and then I'm going to change the tone slightly. Those of you that know my work will know what that means. It's called Hooks. The wool loops and knots in controlled steps, double crochet, slip and chain. Stitches together form a cluster, manifesting vision sitting beside me, with greys and pinks draped as you chatted, shared knowledge. Freely with the 8-year-old, old enough to remember, too young to care. As I work, I still feel you needing approval, my approval, your approval. My technique, my stitch tensity, the measured speed. After years of all the work, I now need to master how to rid myself of the tension when I think of you. and changing the tone. So I mean, I don't know how long I'm using.
Still have some time.
Do I?
You have 17.
Oh wow, okay, you get more. I'm going to read one about my ex-husband.
Should we be afraid?
Maybe.
Should we be?
I think the ex-husbands in the room need to be more afraid. It's called Smother. I looked down at my husband of 10 years, watched him grow from a man-child into an old man, seeing his mind narrow and his waist expand. The lashes that were once so attractive flutter with an inhalation. Air expands his lungs and stops. His body still with no oxygen flow. My own breath held, waiting for him, just as I waited for him so long ago. Dressed in green velvet and cream silk, carrying a bouquet of daffodils and narcissi, breathing held from nerves. Now it's hope that makes me hold it. Hope that he'll wake. Hope that he'll take air inward. Hope that he won't. In my hands, the goose down pillows held, knuckles white, teeth clenched, jaw tight. Then comes the sound I hope not to hear, a blubbering release. As oxygen starts to flow, my skin pricks and lips curl. It stops again. Silence in the room as I imagine, never hearing this night quiet in my cell. There might be crying, probably mine. Maybe the new girl on the block, lamenting she got caught. Maybe I'd be celled with Queen Bee, on the top bunk with polyester, thin woolen blankets and thinner lips, snoring so loud the lumberjacks complain. It would hardly be an escape I was seeking. I released my grip, blood flows back to digits, turned for 1000th night, walk from the room, close the door. I no longer hope, I know I'm leaving tomorrow. And this one's called Too Early. Chill descends as light dulls, seasons of short days, long darkness, starless nights, torrents pound, heaving breast. At your leaving, this time too early, party just beginning, I remain alone, mingling, making small talk while I remember your laughter. Proceeded with a broad smile, brightening orbits, sparkling eyes, that disapproval and pride. I carry that smile with me, shining outward, bringing light to others, living in the dim shadows, seeking a spark to ignite my own. The chill descends as I recall the cold, dead day 12 years ago. And this is where I changed the tone slightly. Buckle in. Topiary. Seated in the deck chair, sun brushing my skin, naked toes tickled by grass, grooming becomes the centre of my attention. I really need to trim the bush. Sprouting right and left, its shape distorted, neat box flowering, past, now unruly, unkept, hard pruning ready. Speed dial 6, Trevor's gardening. I kept the really pornographic ones away. Oh, somebody, well, I've got some, but, you know. Cordially invited. You are cordially invited to afternoon tea. Boil kettle, warm bone china, scoop per person +1 for the pot. Angel cake, sponge, jam and cream to keep it moist. Soft for the forking around the plate. Wrap tongue around, let it slide down, nice and moist. 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 Lick the lips, clear the throat. So, wanna come? Thank you, Hayden.
Thank you, Fran. And one lucky person is going to win one of Fran's books tonight. I'd like to thank all the poets for donating their books for the book prize. We have one from